If you want to see your name at the beginning of all of our videos, as well as see exclusive content here on the homestead, please feel free to join our Patreon. Memberships start off at just $1 a month. And as always, thank you for your support.
We are on baby watch for the fall breeding season. And it looks like Miss Emma here is going to have some babies soon. She is pulling fur and starting to nest. She is the only one I am super worried about when it comes to babies because she will be a first-time mom. So I am hoping that she does really well with this, and I have no idea what to expect if she's going to have babies tonight or tomorrow just because she's never had them before. Vanessa has had babies before. She normally has them on day 32. We are on day 30. And she is showing no real signs of nesting or doing anything yet, so I'm not too worried about her at the moment. But I'll continue to come out and check. And of course we have Hawk, who is also supposed to be having babies. No hair pulling yet. She normally gives birth on day 32 or 33, so we still have some time with her, and I'm not really worried about it. I'm just waiting to see if she's actually gonna have babies or not. So, fingers crossed that everything goes okay and we don't have any issues. It is cold outside today, so I am avoiding the barn at all costs besides feeding. But when it comes to cleaning the cages and everything, we have a rotation of what we use to clean. Sometimes it's alcohol-based, sometimes it's ammonia-based, and then other times it is bleach-based. If I'm just doing a weekly scrub, I do 1 part cleaner to 9 parts water, which is basically equivalent to a tablespoon or so in my 5-gallon bucket. Sometimes if I'm feeling spicy, I'll put 2. But that's just our basic clean. If I'm doing a full-blown quarterly clean, which is where I get real nitty-gritty into everything, we take out all of the cages, blast them, blast the building, let it dry out. Then I do a much stronger solution, but it requires that the animals not be in the barn because we're basically fumigating everything. But the reason we do a rotation of cleaners is because certain diseases are more susceptible to being killed by certain kinds of cleaners compared to others. So if we rotate through, we can get a fuller clean. You know how some of the bottles say 99.999% of germs? It is my goal to get to 100% one way or another. The only thing that would be more effective is fire. And unfortunately, I don't have a flamethrower. Tips on posing rabbits. Start them as early as possible, as young as possible. I start first posing in the cage. I pose them, set them up with their litter mates in the cage, just working on it a minute or so at a time just to get them used to having my hands on them and scrunching them up. The cage provides a safe, neutral area for the babies to learn. Once I get them to the point where they're comfortable in the cage posing, I'll start to bring them out onto my carpet square and posing them there. If they start to get antsy on one side, I will just flip them to the other. At first, I don't care where their feet are, I just care that they're holding still and they're getting their head tucked in. Once they are used to their head position, I start working on putting their feet in the appropriate position. Just keep in mind, the more you practice this, the easier it'll be. There are a couple of things that you can do in this situation. If you have friends who raise rabbits and are willing to bring you on to their farm or homestead and help teach you, that is a great way. Another way is to look up local butcher classes in your area, where people will sell you their rabbits and kind of teach you how to butcher and deal with that. The other option, if you don't have the previous two, is you can hop on YouTube and watch a lot of videos. And you can look in your area to see if anyone is selling their meat rabbits to practice on. The first few options are better, in my opinion, in that you have someone to butcher with. And it's easier to deal with that for the first time when you have some kind of support than if you just try to do it alone, especially if you're really questioning if you could do it from an emotional standpoint. But if you're more worried about a physical standpoint and how to go through the motions, you can always try that last option. Emma had her babies while we were out having dinner. She had 10 in all, but one was DOA, so she had 9. We have a bunch of broken kits in there and a couple of what looks like either agoutis or otters. But so far, everything looks really good. Not too bad for a first-time mom, and she pulled a crap ton of fur. So I'm gonna get these babies covered back up, and I'm gonna leave Emma alone with a nice little treat. This, for the most part, is kind of a myth and untrue. With most moms, you can mess with the babies, and it's not an issue. There are some, of course, who really don't like it much. Emma right now is at my hand trying to find where my treats are and really doesn't care that I'm in here with her babies. With that being said, you want to be able to handle the babies from day 0 because you need to go through the nest box to check to make sure there's nothing dead in there. You also want to check to make sure the babies have nice, full, round bellies. And you also want to get them used to being handled and mom used to you handling them. So I personally will handle them up to 3 times a day from day 0. What was the goal of Emma's litter? Which here are the sweet little babies today. Emma is a black otter, and then the father of this litter is good old Alpha. So although brokens aren't necessarily a goal that we have, they just happen because Alpha is a broken. And when it comes to our Rex lines, we have a mixture of brokens and solids of a bunch of colors. With that being said, the goal of this litter was to improve some of our solid lines. So I really wanted some more otters in both black and blue, because I know Alpha carries a dilute gene, and in theory, Emma should carry a dilute gene. I just won't know until she has her babies and we can actually see what colors they are. But what I really wanted was a chinchilla. So basically something that looks like this, but with better type and larger. Now, this baby right here is only about 3 months, and she's on track to be a regular standard SOP size. The problem with my chinchilla lines right now is even though they get to the appropriate size, I don't like their grow out rate. I want them to grow faster. So I'm using my otter lines to improve my grow out rate in my chinchilla lines. So I want this color with the growth rate that Emma had as a baby. And preferably, I would want it to be a buck, which is surprising for most people, because I really want a replacement for Alpha. But if I did get a doe that was chinchilla with that grow out rate and good type, I'd also be happy. But this litter, for the most part, was just a test litter, just to see what Emma would produce, because this is the first time we've bred her. Last night on my live on YouTube, I was asked about blue-eyed white babies that we were looking forward to in the future. And I am happy to say that we are putting a nest box in here with Sadie. Sadie, who loves nest boxes just because she likes to crawl all over them. Sadie was bred to our Vienna carrying buck. She herself is a Vienna carrier and has produced 2 blue-eyed white babies for us in the past. So I'm hoping this pairing once again gives us some blue-eyed white babies. So hopefully we will be seeing those in this next generation, and if not that, maybe we can get a really nice looking Vienna carrier out of her. Either way, hopefully she'll have babies within the next 3 or 4 days, and we can maybe have some nice looking show rabbits for the 2023 season. Because even if they are Vienna carriers, a lot of times what we get out of this line are some really nice looking black babies, which help to improve our blue-eyed white program overall when they are Vienna carriers. I just really prefer when my Vienna carriers are carriers and they aren't necessarily Vienna marked. If we have a doe that is not so great at being a mom, most of the time, just like all of our other rabbits, they get 3 chances. It goes along into our 3 strike rule.
Now, those problems can be anywhere from they don't produce milk, or they lose a bunch of kits, maybe they don't take care of them properly, they don't catch, or maybe they just don't have large litters. I've had a couple of does where they've done great, but they've only had 2 or 3 babies at a time. So those are all things that would give them more chances. With that being said, the only time I will straight up cull a doe when they are a mom is when they are just mean. Meaning, if I go in here right now with Sadie and I sit here and I poke at her and I love on her, she doesn't really care, even when there are babies in this nest box. That's the way that it should be. You should have a very easy to handle mom. But if I put my hand in here and she was lunging at me, biting me, scratching at me, then I would just automatically cull because I don't like dealing with aggressive moms within my rabbitry. But Sadie is just a huge sweetheart overall.